Hi everyone, I'm Trey Piku, the product manager here at RoosterBio. Let's look at some of the internet's most asked questions from our recent EV content versus function webinar. Our first two questions are about downstream processing. What is your recommended DSP workflow and where do TFF, SEC, and other methods fit in? Why do you choose that workflow over ultracentrifugation? You can find in-depth DSP information by visiting our webpage and our webinars, but I'll go over some basics. First off, the downstream process steps you choose should be driven by your product's needs. While we don't recommend any particular workflow, we've evaluated the following unit operations for clients, and you can see them in the diagram shown here. The baseline DSP workflow we established provides flexibility and is built with scalability and commercial manufacturing in mind. Now let's get to it. We start with a clarification step, followed by concentration using TFF. Chromatography can be added as a polishing step when higher purity is required, though for many applications we found that TFF alone delivers an excellent balance of yield, purity, and functional activity. This is all up to you and depends on what you need. Lastly, we often undergo another round of TFF and filtration before vialing. We favor TFF over something like ultracentrifugation because it's scalable, gentler on EVs, and more readily comparable with GMP and commercial manufacturing. Regardless of what processing you choose, we highly recommend that you perform the appropriate characterization to ensure that the CQAs you care about are maintained. Here are our next questions. How does CD73 quantification correlate to other functional assays? And will the assays from this webinar work with EVs from other cell types? I'm going to leave this slide up while answering because it kind of rolls into the next question. CD73 enzymatic activity is one of the most promising functional CQAs for MSC EVs because it is directly tied to a credible in vivo immunomodulatory mechanism, and it's also a great bioactivity assay for CD73 positive EVs in general. We've begun exploring correlations with other functional readouts like macrophage polarization and should have those data soon. They're just not included in this presentation. Whether or not your particular cell type expresses CD73 will determine how well this assay works with your EVs. That said, the assay we developed and qualified for specificity and accuracy isn't MSC EV specific and will work with EVs from different cell sources. If your EV requires a different specific functional assay, we are more than capable and willing to help you develop that. The other assays, like capillary western and single particle nanoflow cytometry, will certainly work with EVs from other cell types. Those methods are amenable to looking at all sorts of custom markers, so we'll be happy to work with you on either adopting our well-qualified methods or we'll custom develop whatever you need. This question ties into the previous ones, but is a little bit more philosophical. Can the CD73 activity content correlation framework be applied to other markers? In short, yes, but we'll get into it. The activity content correlation framework we described in the webinar is suggested for any therapeutic marker that you care about. This will become even more important as product developers become proficient at engineering EVs for a multitude of different cargo, both inside and on the EV surface. For this webinar, we confirmed identity through protein expression, quantified that expression at a single vesicle level, and then correlated the expression to function. Although we use capillary western and single particle nanoflow cytometry to determine CD73 content before following it up with a CD73 specific functional assay, the main takeaway is that you want to use orthogonal analytical methods to measure EV content changes throughout production, and then you want to investigate how that content is correlated with marker-specific function. Marker-specific function is a key here because you don't want your potency assay to accidentally measure the wrong thing. There's a good chance that capillary western and single particle nanoflow cytometry will work for you as well. It's just program specific, so there isn't a one-size-fits-all approach. This framework also informs your manufacturing decisions. Once you connect content with activity, you can adjust your manufacturing target for mass, particle count, or a manufacturing process that selects for particles with the highest marker expression. Thorough characterization opens up a lot of opportunities that wouldn't be available otherwise. We've come to our last two questions. Does RoosterBio offer analytical and characterization services for people who can't do them in-house? And do you accept samples from outside the US? RoosterBio offers EV characterization as a service, and we can work with everything from conditioned media to purified EV preparations, as well as LNPs. It largely doesn't matter where you're located. If you want to send samples our way, we can work with you on making that happen. We have an extensive portfolio of qualified analytical methods that can be found online. Some of the methods and the link where you can find them are shown here on this slide. We also offer GMP analytics and custom analytical development, so no matter what you're doing, we can help you do it. Whether you're at the discovery stage characterizing your first harvests or preparing analytical comparability data for regulatory filings, we can support you. Reach out to our team at info@roosterbio.com to discuss your specific project and receive a quote. If you have any other questions or want to schedule a consultation with our experts, please don't hesitate to reach out to info@roosterbio.com.